bro?
Yeah, I'm good, man.
All right.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
For sure.
Thank you, man.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I was in this one right here. I was the driver. Yeah, the Hyundai.
Okay?
Everybody's okay. My main concern was the baby, and the baby's okay. Yeah, just a little baby, man.
February 13th, 2019, the day before Valentine's Day. Nothing would ever be the same for me. I've been meaning to do this video for a while. I would always keep putting it off just because it's something that I'm a little insecure about. You know, still some vulnerability there. And the longer that I'm on this YouTube journey, the more comfortable I am with revealing a little bit more and more about myself. You know, hopefully you guys know by now, you know, what the camp means to me is very near and dear to my heart. You guys mean the world to me, man. And I mean that in the most sincere way possible. You know what they say about your life flashing before your eyes when you have a near-death experience? That's true. At least for me it was. I definitely can concur for sure. You know, back around this time, I was in between jobs, had just put in my 2-week notice at one job, waiting for an opportunity to open up at another job. And while I was waiting for that opportunity, I spent that time driving for Lyft. And I remember telling myself, you know, I told Mrs. Majors, man, I said, you know, I'm going to be the best rideshare driver that ever did it. I'm going to be the best Lyft driver ever. That was my mindset. You know, that's how I woke up every morning, and bright and early before the sun was up, just getting after. I always believed in, regardless of whatever it is that you're doing in life, to give it your all, to give it your best maximum effort, because my brand means a lot to me. My word means a lot to me. And these are the things that speak for you when you aren't around. You know, these are the things that speak about your character when you're not in the room. And this particular day, my app went off like usual, and I'm thinking it's just going to be a standard routine pickup, but it turned out to be everything but. I get to the destination, and it's a young mom. Her 10-year-old son, he looked like to be about 10 to 12 or so, and she had a young baby with her. Couldn't be no more than a couple of months old at the most. And I remember vividly, right when I pulled up, her son was about to open the door to the front passenger seat, but he ended up sitting in the back seat with his mom and his baby brother. So he was in the back passenger seat, the baby was in the middle, and the mom was behind me in the rear driver's seat. And I believe the speed limit on the road we were on was 45 or so, and I was doing right about the speed limit. I remember glancing down at either to check the time or to adjust the AC, something of that nature. But as soon as I looked down in my peripheral vision, I could see headlights right above the hood of my car. And I knew right at that moment I was in trouble. I knew at that moment I was in trouble, man. And that's when I told myself, I was like, man, you know what? I'm getting ready to die right now. I'm getting ready to die. I just remember being in shock. Like, I just couldn't believe I was getting ready to die this way, you know, in a car accident. And right at that moment, it's like all these images that were somewhere dormant in my mind just started coming to light, just started coming to the forefront, just like boom, 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 just flashes of my childhood when I was in high school, all the way up until, you know, the current day. And I don't know how that happens or how it works that quickly, but it seemed like I was in that split second for like 5 minutes. It was a very violent collision, and after the collision I noticed that I was still awake, and I kept telling myself, keep your eyes open, stay awake, because if you're awake, you're alive. And I kept telling myself that, stay awake, stay awake. So after the head-on collision, my car was thrown to the right. There was a car driving behind me headed the same direction that T-boned my front passenger door, that then sent my car back over to the left. During the second impact, I'm thinking that the car is flipping. I'm thinking that we're rolling, because I didn't know what was going on. So after the second impact, you know, everybody in the back seat is screaming and yelling, complete chaos inside of the car. And I just kept telling myself, stay awake. I was grabbing onto the steering wheel, like my life depended on it. And when the car came to a standstill, immediately I checked to see if all my limbs were there. Just remember feeling around my arms, and I was like, okay, my arms are still here. Then I remember taking a deep breath and praying to God. I just remember hoping that my legs were still there. So then I started feeling my thighs, my knees, you know, all the way down to my feet. And I was like, I just remember feeling so, I don't have the words for it. I was just ecstatic that I had all my limbs. I couldn't believe I had all my limbs. As soon as I realized I was okay, I turned back and I asked my passengers, I said, is everybody okay? You know, they're not responding. They're tripping out. They're going crazy. So I get out the car right away. I open the back door. The mom is going crazy. Her cheekbone was broken. It was kind of like pressed in, like smashed in. And I was trying to calm her down because my main concern was the baby. And I was telling her to hand me the baby. She wasn't able to do it. So I was able to reach over her. I took the car seat out of the car. I checked the baby. The baby was, God definitely had his hedge of protection around that vehicle and around all of us that day, because somehow, some way, that baby was not harmed. I don't have any words to explain that, man. So the baby was fine. By this time, there was a ton of people on the side of the road asking if we were okay, letting us know that the paramedics were on their way. I was trying to keep the mom and her son calm and still. They were both complaining about their backs being injured, that they were in a lot of pain because of their back. So I didn't know what was going on. So I wasn't going to try to move them or get them out the car. I just wanted them to stay stationary and just wait for the paramedics to get there. So the first set of paramedics got to the scene. They got the mom. They got her out on a stretcher. And while they were tending to her, her son was alone in the back seat. I just wanted to keep him calm, you know, and I just kept telling him how brave he was. And I was like, yeah, champ, big dog, look at you, man. You being strong for your mom. You being strong for your younger brother. You're going to be just fine, man. And I was like, you have a ton of courage, man. You have a ton of heart. And I was just telling him things like that, just, you know, just instilling that confidence in him that everything was going to be okay. But at the same time, telling him not to move because, you know, he was in bad shape. Blood was leaking out of his mouth. It was not a good situation. The paramedics ended up getting him on a stretcher as well, getting him in the back of an ambulance, looking at him, making sure that he was okay. It's a miracle that he did not choose, for whatever reason, to get in the front passenger seat, because if he had done so, I don't think he would have survived. The front passenger door was pushed in almost all the way to the armrest. And I remember the police officer asking me for registration or something of that nature, and I couldn't even open the glove box to get it out. That's how far the door was pushed into the car from the car behind me T-boning us. The whole time, my main concern was on my passengers. I wasn't able to relax the way I wanted to until the paramedics had all three of them. It was a 4-car accident, man. So I wanted to go to the other drivers and make sure that the other drivers were also okay. So what actually ended up happening that day, there was a young female driver, about 19 or so. I don't know, man. I guess she thought she had the green light. She ended up turning into oncoming traffic. She turned into oncoming traffic. Later, we ended up finding out that she was texting. She was on her cell phone, was not paying attention whatsoever, ran the red arrow, collided into the oncoming traffic. She ended up hitting my car and another car head on. Little did I know that the worst was yet to come. Mrs. Major, she took me to the hospital so I could get checked out, make sure everything was okay. That night, everything appeared to be fine, but my world got turned upside down. I would say maybe 2 or 3 days later. We were driving down the road. Actually, Mrs. Majors was driving. I just remember telling her that I was real irritable when it came to loud noises. Like when it came, you know, I couldn't listen to loud music, even just like music at a normal volume. It was just too much for me. I wasn't really understanding why. I just thought maybe I was just still a little shooken up from the accident. But we were driving down the road and she forgot that I had mentioned that. And I had even forgot because, you know, we're both listening to the music at normal volume. We're bumping, having a good time. The next thing you know, I flip all the way out. I mean, I start tripping out because the music had triggered something. And I've never done this before. And it hurts me to even think about it because it's like it wasn't even me. But I started yelling at her, screaming at her, telling her to turn on the music, let me out the car, stop the car. I wanted to get out the car. So she pulled over, on the side of the road. As soon as she did, I jumped out the car and started just started walking away, tears coming down my face like a flood. Felt like I was losing my mind. I didn't have no control over the situation whatsoever. And after a while, I was able to, calm myself down, get back in the car with her because, she had given me my space. And I remember being in the car trying to be very, very still as we were driving back home, because it felt like if I were to just move my head, even if it was slightly, like just like that whole circumstance would repeat itself, that I would go through that whole ordeal again where I started flipping out. Best way I could describe it is if you're driving down a real rocky road, like down a bumpy road, and you have a cup full of water to the brim, you can't spill a drop. That's how I felt, because I felt like if I lost one drop out of that cup, everything was just gonna come out and overflow again. It was the strangest, most craziest feeling ever. When we got home, it took me 25 or 30 minutes just to get in the house. I was tripping out in the car, and Mrs. was saying she was going to call the ambulance if I wasn't able to get inside. I didn't want them to come, so I did my best to get inside the house. I'm tripping out, crying, going crazy. It was like that for a while, man. I remember there was a lot of days where I couldn't even talk like this. I had to whisper. I had to talk very, very quietly. I had to move very gingerly, like very softly. Everything was just on pins and needles, and it stayed that way for weeks. So I actually ended up having a very, very severe concussion that I didn't realize I had right after the accident. Like I said, I thought I was fine. And that night at the ER, they said I was fine. I didn't think I had any issues. I thought I was able to walk away from this thing unscathed. I just remember not wanting this thing to cripple me. And I took it very, very personal when I was out of commission. And I told myself that when I come back, I'm gonna come back stronger and more focused and hungrier than I have ever been in my whole entire life. I decided from that day that I was gonna make everything count, every day count, every week count, no empty steps, one small step at a time, man. That was my mindset. There was a lot of things that I thought was impossible for me to do physically, as far as when it comes to fitness goals and the goals in general, that I had trained very, very long for, that I had trained so hard for, but still was unable to accomplish. And after I was able to get back on my feet after that accident, I started knocking those goals down one by one, no mercy, all out, relentless. I was never the same after that. I did not want this circumstance to cripple me, because I had read online that a lot of people are very timid and nervous to get back behind the wheel of a car after that kind of traumatizing experience. I did not want that to be me. So as soon as I was able to drive, I went back to the same spot. My heart started beating when I started getting closer to that intersection. I had to do it, man. I had to let the circumstance know that I'm in control of my life and not it. I drove through the intersection, made a U-turn, drove back. I must have drove through that intersection 2-3 times, man, before I ended up leaving that day. Before the accident happened, I was just like everybody else. I can do it tomorrow. I could do it next week. The goals that I have, I could do it next month. I could do it next year, January 1. You know what I mean? When you get up in the morning to leave the house, you never know if it's going to be for the last time. The last time you say bye to your kids, the last time you say bye to your significant other, your friends, your family members, your loved ones. You never know if you're going to ever see them again or if they're going to ever see you again. From that moment on, I decided to never procrastinate. I decided to give it my all while I'm here, because I never know how long I'm gonna be here. I used to automatically assume I'm gonna die from old age with a head full of grays. On the news all the time, people are here today, gone tomorrow, but we don't take into consideration that could be us. And that was literally almost me. Somehow all the drivers were able to walk away and survive that accident that day, including the driver. And that means something, at least to me. To me, it meant something. And I've always had the mindset to leave a mark on this earth. At least I thought I did. But after that day, I knew for sure I wanted to leave a mark on people's lives, one way or the other. So that way, when I do leave here one day, people will say, he lived on fire. He was passionate. And that's why you guys hear me say a lot, or you might see me in the comments a lot saying no regrets. And that's where the no regrets comes from, man. It comes from that accident. It comes from leaving it all on the line, so that way if something happens tomorrow, I'm at peace with it, because I didn't hold back while I was here. The worst feeling in the world is living with regret, man, because time is so precious and it's so valuable. And life is so fragile altogether. Why not make the most of it while you're here? You just have to have the will to want it and go, man. Sometimes you just got to jump. Don't spend your whole life dipping your toe in the water, seeing if it's okay to get in, man. Just jump. Sometimes you just got to go. Sometimes you just gotta go. Don't let life pass you by, man. Don't let these opportunities pass you by, please. You know, I just thank you guys for being here with me and for hearing me out. And, you know, just for taking time out your day to spend time with me. You know, I don't ever take that for granted. It means a lot to me. You guys mean a lot to me, man. So stay safe out there. Stay well. Stay on your grind. Keep fighting. And we're going to get there one step at a time, baby. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there together. And that's going to be a wrap on today's video. Like I always say, don't expect OT money, putting in part-time work. Stay hungry, forever grateful, never satisfied. Until next time, Comfort Kills. Let's get it.